We've all been told to just let it go when we're angry. Sounds easy, right? But it's really not. What if handling our anger wasn't just about calming down? What if it's actually deeply tied to our character and even, believe it or not, the physical health of our heart? Okay, let's get into this because the connection is way more direct than you probably think. So let's just cut right to the chase with the big question. Is it true? Can that anger that you bury deep down, the stuff you try to just ignore, can it actually lead to heart disease? Well, according to the material we're looking at today, the answer is a huge yes. And it shows this incredible link between how we feel emotionally and how we are physically. And we're not talking about small things here. The risks are incredibly high. See, the source material explains that when you have this intense, unresolved anger, your body gets flooded with stress hormones. Think cortisol, adrenaline, the whole shebang. And when that happens over and over, it can lead to some really serious stuff: inflammation, plaque building up in your arteries, and eventually things like coronary disease, an enlarged heart, or even a sudden fatal heart attack. This isn't just about having a bad day. It's a real physical threat. Okay, so this brings us to a massive, super common misunderstanding. When we talk about dealing with anger, a lot of us think of the word patience or sabr. But are we even thinking about patience the right way? Let's break down where we might be getting it all wrong, because this little mix-up is actually at the very root of the problem. The common thinking is that being patient just means you don't show your anger. You feel it boiling up inside, but you keep a calm face, you stuff it down, you suppress it. But what we're learning is that this isn't patience at all. In fact, that's the very thing that keeps all those damaging stress hormones pumping through your system. And this analogy just illustrates the point perfectly. Think about it like this. If you have money and you put it in your pocket, is it still money? Of course it is. Just because people can't see it doesn't change what it is. Well, it's the exact same thing with anger. Just because you hide it from everyone else doesn't mean it's gone. It's still there, inside you, active and doing its thing, both chemically and emotionally. So if just stuffing your anger down is the wrong way to go, what's the right way? Well, this is where we get to the absolute core of it all, the huge difference between suppressing anger and truly restraining it. They might sound kind of the same, but they are worlds apart, both for your spirit and for your body. Okay, now this is really interesting because it completely redefines restraint. True restraint, or menahan, isn't about fighting an emotion that's already taken over. It's actually a proactive choice. It's about catching that very first spark, that desire to get angry, and stepping in right then and there. So instead of trying to put out a raging fire, you're preventing the spark from even catching in the first place by remembering a higher purpose. So how do you actually do that in the heat of the moment? The key, we're told, is a spiritual one: remembering God. And this isn't just some vague concept. It's a real action. It could be taking a deep breath and consciously saying a short phrase, like seeking refuge in God from your own anger. It's all about shifting your focus away from what made you mad and onto a higher principle, basically short-circuiting the anger response before it can even start. And this is where that practice comes from. The source points us to this guidance, which praises people who not only restrain their anger, but also pardon others. When you remember this, your whole goal changes. It's not about winning the argument or being right anymore. It's about becoming the kind of person who has a quality that's beloved by God and that brings peace not just to the situation, but to your own heart. You can see how this all connects, right? It totally reframes the entire experience of being wronged. Instead of seeing it as some personal attack that you have to react to angrily, you can see it as an opportunity. A really tough moment actually becomes a chance for you to practice a higher virtue, which basically turns a challenge into an act of worship. So the bottom line is this. In this framework, forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. Not at all. It's presented as a sign of incredible spiritual strength and piety. The ability to forgive someone who has wronged you is seen as a characteristic of someone who is truly devout, someone who has mastered their own ego for a higher goal. But wait, there's a really important practical point here. Does this mean you just become a doormat and let everything go? No, and the source is super clear on this. If someone insults you or says something untrue about you, forgiving them is a path to piety. But if someone is trying to collect a debt that you owe them, you can't just say, "Oh, I forgive you for asking," and walk away. Responsibilities and obligations still have to be met. And this really brings us to the final takeaway. The whole mindset just flips. The goal is no longer a negative one. Don't get angry, push it down. Instead, it becomes a positive one. Use this moment as a chance to elevate your faith, to practice forgiveness, and to turn a potentially destructive emotion into a constructive spiritual act. And when you do that, you're not just improving your character, you're actively protecting your heart from all that physical stress that anger creates. So the next time you feel that flash of anger, what will you do? Will you just suppress it and let it bubble away inside, harming your soul and your body? Or will you see it as a chance to do something different? The question this leaves us with is a really powerful one. Are you ready to change your perspective and turn that moment of anger into a virtuous act that actually heals?